What's up? It's Matt. We are live. We got a guy that wrote a book about putting butts in seats. We're going to find out what it takes to put butts in seats. We'll be back right after this. So, Greg, you're in sunny California now, but you're from the East Coast. Tell us about you, about the book, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, Matt. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I'm in San Diego, California, and grew up on the East Coast. Hit New York City in the mid '90s, and that's where I met my wife, and ended up dragging her west a little over 20 years ago, and that's where I've been ever since. But yeah, I'm a restaurant consultant. My company is GP Hospitality Partners.
Okay.
We consult for restaurants, help restaurant owners become more profitable and positioned for scale and create more free time. And, I wrote this book really as a kind of a marketing tool, the lead generation kind of opportunity. And it also really helped me during the process of writing the book, helped me kind of crystallize what I do, how I do it, and who I do it for. So I think the book all actually benefited me and my business more than anything, to be honest.
With regards to the business and what was the book when you were writing it? What's the biggest takeaway when you got done writing? Like I've written 3 books. And I remember I got done with the one and I was like, wow, sometimes when you tell a story or you deep dive into a topic, you realize the missing opportunity there. Was there anything like that popped out to you?
Yeah, it's funny because when I first decided to write the book, I was kind of going a little broad, and I realized I really had to just hone this down and just speak to restaurant owners in particular. A, because that's who hires me, and
Yep.
B, that's really the message, right? And so, the book is really, I call it a marketing book, but it's really about marketing in the 4 walls of your business. And you're a marketing guy, you probably know this better than anybody. The best marketing that we can do is creating an amazing culture, giving amazing experiences, and getting people to want to come back over and over again. And that's really the gist of it. When I'm training my teams and I'm having team meetings, I always tell them, look, if everybody in a square mile radius comes into our restaurant once and only once, we're good for like 6 months, but if a small amount of those people come back again and again and again, then we've got something to grow, and you will be successful and grow over time. So that's really the goal. Just putting some practical things that restaurant owners can do and think about to make that actuality for them.
Okay. Yeah. And when you say that small amount of people too, it's kind of funny. I spoke at an event for Cisco and South Carolina Restaurant Association back in like September. And I had up there 600 really big. And this guy's, what's 600? There's like 50 people. And I said, 600 is the people you need to make a major impact on the next 12 months, add 6 figures to your restaurant. And he was like, bullshit. And I go, it is. He's like, tell me the math. I said, okay, 600 people. 200 brand new that have never walked in your restaurant, 200 people that come all the time. You're going to get to come back. And then 200 people that used to come, but haven't been in a while, which there's a lot of those with the pandemic nowadays. That's 600 people. I said, how many times do people eat at your restaurant? He's like, oh, every week. I said, okay, that's 52 times if my math is correct. Well, let's just say half of that 26. That's a pretty decent number, right? He's like, yeah. Okay, so take 600 people times 6 visits a year. That's 3,600 visits. You're at your average check. He's like $50. Like, I'll let you do the math because I can't do it, but it's above $100,000. And if those visits are incremental from new and lost and then increase a check size or get somebody to come back a different occasion. Like I went to a restaurant the other day. My son plays lacrosse. They had lacrosse night there. The only reason I went there was lacrosse. Yep. And so they created an excuse for me to go to a restaurant that I eat at every other week anyways. And it was an extra visit. And I said, so that's that little circle. People think it's like, oh, I need 30,000 people on my email list. No, you need 600 that just love you a lot.
Yeah, that is really, I can't stress that point enough. I mean, you really broke that down beautifully, and mathematically, but no, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's the whole principle. It's just get people to come back again and again. And it's really, there's a lot of ways to do that, but it really starts with having a heart for hospitality and just, really caring about what you're doing and who you're doing it for, and showing them that you care. People really gravitate towards that. I mean, you can't ever underestimate the power of little things like getting to know somebody's name and saying that over and over. You know what I mean?
I suck
at our restaurants. One of the things we do is we always have I have a quick service sort of Italian place, and
Okay.
Pesto Italian Craft Kitchen. And when you come to the line, the first thing that we do when we take somebody's orders, we get their name, whether they're staying, whether they're going, or anything. Then they go down to the next place and they meet the person they're going to check out and pay and all that stuff, get drinks or whatever. And we say their name, and then as we're going through the restaurant, say their name again, and honestly, that little thing right there makes a massive, massive, difference.
There's a restaurant down the street that we go to a lot. And when I say a lot, I think if I had to look back 6 years, we've probably averaged once a week. And it's about a four of us, $80. So it's a casual dining restaurant, $15, $20 items. And I know the owner. He has a couple locations. We just sold it recently, but I know him pretty well. And I had made a comment one time. I said, the one thing that this location struggles with, I said, the service is great. The food's great. The atmosphere is great. I said, I guarantee you couldn't ask one of your managers who the hell I am. And I'm like, not who I am from an ego standpoint. The fact that who's the dumbass that comes in an orange shirt every week and spends money. I said, nobody here knows who I am. And within about 2 weeks, oddly enough, that we never go on Friday nights. So we went on Friday night. This lady was there. And she's like, hey, I don't think I've ever waited on you guys before. What are your names? And I was like, oh, wow, did Joe call you? And she's like, I said, how often do you work? She's like, I just work Fridays. I work Fridays. I think she was a teacher. And so this is my get away from the family and a house and kids and just have fun. And my history was this. And so she got our names and I saw her and she used it throughout the meal. She walked back. Hey, Matt, what hot sauce did you want? And it's different than, excuse me, what hot sauce? It's, hey, Matt, we look. I always tell people when you gather data for customers in an email list, get their name. Nobody wants an email to, hey, you. And sure enough, about a month later, we didn't go on Fridays again. And a month later, we're on there on a Thursday. And she's outside as a customer. She's like, hey, Matt, Christy, how you guys doing? And I'm looking at her, oh, you wait on? Yeah, I'm just here off. But it was wild because there's a person that works one day a week at the restaurant that took something nobody else did. But just the fact of introducing herself, getting our name, and then using our name through the conversation is a much different experience.
Very, very powerful. Very powerful. Look, we're in the business of creating relationships. Yes, we serve food as kind of a, sidebar, and it's got to be good to your point. The atmosphere's got to be good. All those things have to be good, but it's really those relationships that make the difference.
Yeah. When you think about it, the food is the ultimate sidebar. When I went to a restaurant the other day, we had I didn't know my son's first year playing lacrosse. I didn't know they played a billion games. And so he had 3 games last week. And the one game, every time it's like going to dinner afterwards. And so it wasn't where we were going to eat. I looked forward to the conversations, hanging out with this one of his teammates' mom and dad, who I think are pretty cool people. And I hadn't got to talk to them a whole lot. The food just happened to be there. And it helps when the food doesn't suck and that your drink's never empty and that the food's warm. But it was the conversations is why I'm there.
Yep, absolutely. 100%.
So you use a word in here a lot, unshakable. So tell me what unshakable is and kind of how to use that in the restaurant biz.
That's interesting. Well, I don't think I've ever gotten that question. I think I'm trying to drive home the point, that, when you put systems in place and you work so hard, look, we're restaurateurs, we work really hard to do a lot of things, right? We're working hard to make sure the food is perfect. We're working hard to make sure those, points of contact are right. We're training our teams. We're doing a lot of things. But at the end of the day, as a restaurant owner, we have to know that the systems that we put in place are going to work, whether we're there or not. Yeah. Right. And so it has to be unshakable. It has to be solid. It has to be something we can count on, And so I think that's where that idea came from. Okay. Trying to drive home this point that look, if I want to go out and open 20, 30, 40 restaurants or travel all over country or do whatever I got to do, I got to know that the processes I put in place are solid and they're going to work, whether I'm there or not. So,
yeah. And that's a key. I remember, I think what year it was, 2018, December of 2018, I went on a 10-day ski trip to Canada the first week of December. I came back for 3 days, 2.5 days, grabbed the wife and kids. We flew to Denver, skied for 3 days there, got on a plane, went to Hawaii, was in Hawaii for 9 days over Christmas. Come back. I'm here for a day. Me and Ashley and her husband leave. She's my director of operations to go to Vegas for a Facebook conference for 3 days. And I remember looking back, that was the first time I had ever done something to me that insane as far as being away. I mean, this business is mine since 2008 and I've been involved in it. But back in 2017, 18, I started removing myself from the org chart where I don't actually, like, I don't have a job. Like if I walk out here right now, there's people doing stuff. Like I just go in the studio and talk to great people like you and talk to clients here and there and, try to play ping pong against my employees occasionally in the ping pong room, but I don't have a job. And so I did that intentionally because I wanted to work on the business versus in it. So I think a lot of us, like especially restaurants, they create their own worst job. They're number one employee versus the boss. But when I did that trip, I looked back at the middle of January and I'm like, wow, nothing went wrong. Like I didn't get calls. Like when I was in Canada for the 10 days, I never heard from an employee. And I remember calling once, I'm like, hey, is everything all right? They're like, everything's perfect. What do you need? Oh, nothing. Okay. See you later. Bye. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, that can't talk to me. But
Yeah.
it was that, I guess I was unshakable then because I was literally home, I think like 4 days in like 6 weeks, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was cool because that was the first time I had ever done that extended. And what was ironic was I didn't plan on doing it that when I was on the ski trip in Canada, my wife called me and she's like, hey, I don't want to do this for Christmas. Let's go to Hawaii, figure it out. And I booked it. And I just booked it, not thinking about like I was literally flying home and leaving again in 2.5 days. But it's cool to know that the systems and processes and the people and the culture is there, that everybody does their thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that culture is really the number one thing, it's like, people doing things with integrity, just because it's the right thing to do, whether the boss is there or not.
Yep.
Takes a lot of heavy lifting in the beginning to
Yep.
make that the case, to your point. It took you a while to get to that point where you could feel like
Yeah.
you could really step away and feel comfortable doing that. But at the end of the day, I mean, why did we get into business in the first place? Did we do it to create a job, or did we do it to, grow something bigger than us, and that's one of the things I help restaurant owners to understand and to put into place really is to get to that place where they can feel comfortable enough to go and enjoy some time with their families and know things are going to run the way that they would do it, or would when they're there.
And it's scary. I mean, that was to me the hardest part, honestly. It wasn't the fact that
Terrifying.
I knew Ashley was very capable. That I know, like on my team now, that Doug, Luis, Ashley, Lisa, Tom, Tanya, I mean, they're all very capable. But back then for me, 4 or 5 years ago, it was letting go. And, I would never had an issue delegating. I was never a micromanager, but I always had a job. And so when I got to a point where I realized, like I drew an org chart, and this is what I challenge, and you've probably seen this, but like I've challenged friends of mine, draw your company org chart, like specify it, and then put people's names in every spot. And the part that blew me away was I was in like 80% of them. Like I'm in every damn block. And I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing here. Why am I even there? Get out of there. And, and so it was when I finally started realizing how to get out of it. And I got to a point where I literally am not on the org chart. I'm just at the top as a visionary. It was scary because it's your baby. It's your hard work. And it's hard, especially for restaurateurs. I mean, I can imagine like what I created is digital. I created all these tools and mechanisms and trainings on how inside the four walls, servers can have conversations to help the restaurant gain data so that one visit becomes 20. And when I created all these cool tools and these systems and these algorithms that our team took and run with, it was hard for me to look back and like not play with it. Like, well, I'm going to come do this. And I'm sure for a restaurant owner, it's the same thing. As a lot of these guys started as chefs, and to see somebody else making their mom's dish, and they want to just look at like, no, one more pinch.
Oh yeah. That is deeply concerning. No doubt about that.
Well, great. Well, how can somebody reach you? What's the best way for them to get a hold of you and to find out what you do and how you can help them?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So first thing is gphospitalitypartners.com. No, that's a mouthful. It's pretty easy to Google or figure out. That's my company's website, and there's contact information all over it. There's a way to kind of book a strategy session with me if you just want to have a conversation. No obligations or anything like that. I love to talk to people, and I love to help people whenever I can. So I'm always happy to have a conversation with them and learn more about what they're doing and see what it is I can possibly do for them, or even just point them in the right direction.
Yeah.
And then there's always LinkedIn. I'm fairly active on LinkedIn. You can always shoot me a note over there.
That's how we found you.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that right on the screen? gphospitalitypartners.com.
Yep, that is exactly right.
I can't believe I spelled that right. Man, I'm gonna have to call up my 4th grade English teacher and be like, listen, lady, I got skills. You shouldn't have given me a D.
He's got skills.
But yeah, so check it out, GP Hospitality Partners, and I've seen a lot of your content. I've read, I haven't read the whole book. I've read parts, bits and pieces of it, things that to me were kind of resonate. But I like what you just said there. Point you in the right direction because there are a lot of people out there just trying to sell somebody something. It's like I told a restaurant the other day. He's like, "Well, why do you need to have another conversation?" I said, "Because I don't know if I even want to work with you. I don't know if you need me. Like we all have a conversation. I do what I call an attention audit." And if I see opportunity to help you, yeah, damn right, I'm going to try and help you out. I'm going to get you as a client of our company. But if I also see an opportunity to give you to somebody that can help you more, or maybe give you some tips that you can do to get to a certain level, it's the same thing. Like you got to be comfortable with the people you're working with.
100%. No, that's exactly right. I mean, look, it's to me, being of service to other people is just probably the key factor. And look, money comes and money goes. It's like whether I'm operating in the consulting role or as the restaurateur and restaurant owner, being of service to people is the core of what we do.
Yep.
And there's a many different ways that can look.
I love it. GPHospitalityPartners.com. And then can they find the book? I think we got ours on Amazon. Can they find it on Amazon?
Absolutely. Yeah. If you just
Okay.
Google butts and seats on Amazon, there's a couple butts and seats, books out there with different industries or whatever,
Yep.
but that's the book right there. You'll be able to see it, how to create raving fans who come back again and again. Yeah, give it a read and let me know what you think.
And it's a shade of orange. So for my fans, like we had a customer the other day call up one of my sales teams and said, "Hey, I'm team orange." And he pulled up a orange shirt. And I said, "Oh, he must know me." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I see Matt everywhere." So it's team orange, baby. Grab the
There you
book, get it
go.
on Amazon. And when you buy the book, also make sure to go back and leave a review and tell everybody how badass it was. Greg, I appreciate your time. I envy you because you get to go out to probably 78 degrees. I got to go out to 30 degrees.
It's 74 today. So,
Okay. I feel a little better.
there's that.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks again, Matt. Appreciate the time.
You're welcome.